And we're live.
Welcome back here, folks, to the corner. It's been a while. Got my old pal here, Alexander, on the other line, and
You
in
guys can call me Troy Tristrip. So yeah.
and in tonight's episode, we're going to discuss the finale of Better Call Saul. What did you think of the finale, Troy?
I thought it was actually an interesting, also exciting way to end, but that's kind of a given, knowing Vince Gilligan and his Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul career in general. But I don't know, man. I think I would actually have expected a little more, but maybe that's just because I'm a hardcore fan of that universe. But yeah, all in all, it was a good final season
All right.
without spoiling too much.
This is a spoiler. This is a review, so don't worry about it so much.
Mm.
Um, I thought this episode was completely genius. Because can you remember how the last season ended?
Yeah, that
Well,
was
I'll recap it for you. Now, the
okay.
last season ends with that Jimmy being or Saul being on the top of his game, just having changed his name, just having gotten his
Oh
bar
yeah,
license
right.
back, right? And explaining the new thing to Kim, saying that it's all good, man.
It's all
to
good,
to
man. I
to
remember that.
to Kim, with Saul being on the top of his game, knowing exactly what he's going to do, and Kim standing there trying not to look dumb, or at the same time looking dumb because she has no clue what's going on, with Jimmy having changed his name, coming out like this,
Mm.
right?
Yeah,
And what's going to happen.
that I
And
thought was a very good ending, actually, if I do may say
right,
so myself.
right.
Yeah.
And if you draw this parallel now to the ending, or to the beginning of this last, okay, look at it like this way: the ending of season 4, right, and the
Mm.
beginning of the finale episode of season 5, where it is now reverse, right,
No.
where it is or no, it's also like the beginning and the end, okay.
Mm.
Because in the beginning we have like them both like processing what's just happened with Lalo and all that shit, and they decide to go to that hotel to check in because they don't want to have, I guess, more unnoticed visitors of high level criminals harassing them like Lalo.
Mm.
And then we have the update from Mike to Gus about what's going on, about, like, where Nacho is going with Lalo going to his home in Mexico, uh, where I, like,
Mm.
I instantly feared for for Lalo's home is in that compound, as he rolls up with that smile, like, "Hey, I'm back."
Yeah, and that's also like a testament to the Lalo character in general. I mean, like he is just played by Tony Dalton, for the ones who don't know it. He plays it so epically, like this psychotic, almost psychopathic maniac way that he brings to the character is just it's very good. And yeah, one of my friends asked me yesterday about it, that is his character actually serious in these situations, or does he genuinely like it? Like does he like tormenting these people?
Well,
Or is he serious about being that happy because he's smiling all the time, so you can't tell?
no,
So
that's a pretty
that that's
genius quote on that one. Yeah.
yeah.
And I also instantly feared for the chef's life, the old lady in his mansion, as the camera was lingering a little bit on her, when when he's coming there announcing that he's there and stuff, right? And
Yeah.
nobody of these people seems to be like genuinely happy that that Lalo is back, right?
Yeah.
And
Which
then
which episode are you talking about now?
the finale.
The finale. Yeah, yeah.
We're
Yeah,
at
when they're at the cartel with
yeah, when they're
yeah. All right.
at Lalo's compound.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
None of them seem to be like specifically happy that he's back, but they laugh with him like, well, I guess you're paying the checks, so we laugh with you.
Yeah.
And then he has that sudden outburst where he yells at that kid, the young guy, the 18-year-old dude,
Oh, yeah.
for like not immediately taking out his bags of the car or whatever.
Yeah.
Anyways, that was like the short scene of like Lalo's return, and then we head back to Jimmy and Kim in the hotel where they're both processing their shit. Jimmy kind of like trying to hide out, wanting to know what's going on, calling Mike, and Kim heading off to the law office to pick up a bunch of public defender cases. I guess that's her way of processing what's
Oh
just
yeah,
happened.
that's a brilliant scene too. Yeah. And by the way, like I know we're just recapping here, but anyone who's, I mean, also the reason why I'm doing this is to enhance the understanding that like you can't just listen to this recap. You actually need to go back and watch the episode again because it is a brilliant finale. I
It
I don't
is.
I don't disagree on that. It's just like I thought actually the season 4 finale was better, but the season 5 finale is still up there. It's a masterpiece, but that's a given once again.
Yeah.
So yeah. All
Now
right, you can continue.
we didn't see specifically what cases Kim picked out,
Yeah.
since she wanted to put on as much weight as 20 public defender cases. But
Uh,
again, I guess that is her way of working through a crisis situation, since she is per se a workaholic,
yeah.
considering how much she's working. So is Jimmy, but I don't know. I just see Kim
It's in a different way because like
yeah, it's a different
um
environment.
Kim has always been, at least until the end of season 4, she was always like very very mindful about her work and that everything had to be perfect. But as you can also see in the final now, she when Jimmy says to her, "Can we really do this to her?"
Yeah,
Am I
we'll get there.
spoiling
We'll
too
get there.
much? Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
No,
Okay.
we'll get there.
Okay.
We'll
Okay.
get there.
Okay. Okay.
But yeah, you're right. Because she was a very neat woman, everything clean, nice and tidy, right, and keeping herself inside to, the what the morally correct thing, the ethical correct thing, and so on. And she has now seemingly spiraling into a more chaotic mindset. So what we might be witnessing is the process of Kim actually breaking bad.
Yeah, and that I think is actually very exciting because up until this point we have just been having these parallels about between Walter White and Jimmy McGill slash Saul Goodman.
Yeah,
Um, and slash Heisenberg. So like you can see how each of them have their alias, but I won't go into that now because we could talk about that for hours. But now we see that with Kim as well, and
yep.
that's very exciting. I'm looking forward to season 6. I was actually a bit shocked in the beginning when I saw that it was gonna have a season 6. But I'm actually happy for it now because there's so many fucking things
Yeah, there's a lot of loose
that
ends
are
stuff they need to tie
so
up.
sorry for
So
swearing. I don't know. Can we
no,
swear?
yeah, don't worry about it.
Okay.
So after the public defender scene where we see Kim picking up all these case files and stuff, we cut back to Lalo and Nacho at the compound where Lalo is fixing up the gift that he's going to give to Don Eladio.
Mm.
And Nacho running into the house to use the bathroom and getting the call from Gustavo's hitman. Where they give him the message about you need to open the gate at 3 a.m. or how you say that in Spanish.
El Sumatorronte Sapital 3:30 a.m. But I don't know. My brother speaks better Spanish than I do.
I don't think that is like exactly how you say it,
No.
but
Definitely.
but yeah, that is like, what's going on. And then we, after the scene, we just cut back to kind of like a funny scene where Harvard, no, I'm sorry, did I say I meant Howard stops Kim in the courthouse corridor,
Mm.
lashing out on, how much he thinks that Jimmy is a bad guy, and he threw bowling balls on his car and sent prostitutes to the cliff
Yeah.
to the Cliff's dinner and stuff, thinking that he is out of control and isn't in a good place.
And then Kim stands there for 3 seconds, and then after that short break, she's just like,
Yeah,
just
she laughs.
breaks out into laughter and chuckles because this shows perfectly the decline of her character as well, like her Breaking Bad.
Yeah,
Like
it does. It
it's
does.
just an epic scene, really.
Like,
Just
could we have seen? Would she have reacted the same way if Howard was to tell her this while she was working at Hamlin McGill? I seriously doubt
no,
so. I think that
fuck no.
I don't know.
She would have, yeah, overreacted and done something.
Yeah,
I
deemed
don't
the
know.
whole thing
Not sure she
acceptable and stuff.
not sure she would actually have been able to do anything to stop Saul or Jimmy, because he has always been, during all the seasons, very eccentric.
Yeah,
Um, but and also, like, she has always, like, kind of put him on a pedestal. So because she loves him so much, so, like, I don't really know if she would even have been able to do anything about it if this had been back in season one.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, it's definitely interesting to. But yeah, they continue.
Okay, and then we cut back to one of my favorite scenes of the whole episode, where we are in Don Eladio's compound, and we like see Don Eladio talking with Balsa and seeing the three huge bricks of cash on the table. Don Eladio complaining about the stack from Balsa not being big enough. And Balsa giving his, assurances that, no, it was just, a small problem. It's taken care of. It will be more next time. And then we have Lalo coming in there, and introducing himself, and everybody, happy to see him, right? And this kind of surprised me because Gustavo said that it was Eladio's guys that ambushed Jimmy on the road in the desert with the money in the former episode,
Oh yeah,
or a couple episodes back, right?
yeah.
Which means
So
that,
cartel. Yeah.
yeah, because, like, they were protecting, because we see the guy in the cartel money house
Yeah.
calling Eladio, or one of Eladio's men, right? Saying what's going on. They're sending $7 million to the U.S. to pay for Lalo's bail,
Mm.
and where then Eladio has acted like, the hell, that's not going to happen. That's our money, right?
Mm.
Which poses like a great question. Was Eladio aware of that Jimmy was being that the money was being ambushed, or is he just or
I
is he
don't think so.
clueless?
I think it was Bolsa.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah, exactly. I also think that it was
because
both.
yeah, because like Don Eladio is like the head of the chain. He's the head of the whole
Yeah,
fucking cartel,
yeah, yeah,
and
and also,
I don't think he had the time to really deal with one guy, even though it is a Salamanca. But yeah, I mean, I don't think he had the time to fucking do that because he has so much other shit to deal with.
yeah, exactly. And also, it seems very genuine when Eladio and Lalo is hugging, like,
Mm.
former best homies, and, and all that, right?
Uh, uh,
So, so yeah, I also I think you're right that it was probably Bolsa that set up that ambush.
Yeah.
And we see like Eladio being happy and shit, getting like the car for Magnum PI,
Oh
the
yeah,
money
what
in
a
the
what
trunk
a
and
what a
stuff.
scene, man! What a quick man! Just picture this, guys. Like a scene where Lalo comes out together with was Bolsa there too, or was it just Eladio? I think it was just Eladio.
Bolsa was also there. He was watching it, right?
Yeah, and then they just come out, and then in some Spanish accent they say, "Ah, nice car, Magnum PI." I mean, oh man, could it be more creepy, more like the underworld of Mexico? Could it be more like that?
Yeah.
Ah man.
And then we have the most epic part of this scene where we have Nacho sitting down with Don Eladio, convincing him and telling him, how he's going to become his new number one in the US, taking over more territory, making him more money, starting a war between biker gangs, and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, and
Uh,
during that scene, I was constantly getting a flashback to Breaking Bad, where he says to Max, Gustavo's business partner, about the methamphetamine that he's going to produce, and he's saying, uh, um, it is only for bikers, hillbillies.
yeah,
Fucking,
yeah.
and it was like it is that same kind of content in his voice, Don Eladio. Like Nacho sitting there, like he probably thinks it's a good plan, but Don Eladio is sitting there like, really? Are you kidding me? Is this all you got? You fucking little bus bench stupid criminal. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty good stuff. Pretty good stuff. Um. Anyways, after this scene where Nacho is doing good, convincing Don Eladio about that he's the real deal, we cut back to Kim and Jimmy, where it is now escalating even further with that Kim actually wants to disbar Howard.
Yeah.
Right, she wants to take his license because like everything is being held up now with the Mesa Verde lawsuit,
Yeah.
and they are standing to gain a lot of money from all this stuff. And as Kim says it, Howard is the only one that is holding this back. And if he falls, then everybody else will like agree to settle out this lawsuit immediately, and they will get the cash immediately from this, which equals something like $2 million.
Oh no, but that was the Sandpiper case. That was
Yeah. I mean, yeah, this is the Sandpiper case from Mesa Verde, right? Mesa Verde is running the lawsuit,
oh yeah, right.
right? And then Jimmy is on. Jimmy
No,
is
no, no,
on
no,
his
no, no.
paper.
Wait. Hold on. We're gonna get this straight here. No, Mesa Verde. That is the bank that's going to expand. The Sandpiper case. That is from
Okay.
the elderly people, the old people.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah.
That was the Sandpiper case I meant,
Yeah.
right? Which it is Cliff
No,
Main
because
and
yeah.
Cliff Main and Howard that is like running point on this, right?
Yeah, because
With
the Mercer Verde case was dropped by Kim for some reasons. I still don't know why she did that. Because like there was a lot more money in that than the pro bono shit that she does now. But who knows, man? I mean, like a lot of shit is going through her head. So I don't know that yet. I guess we'll have to wait for season 6 for that.
yeah,
But
but
yeah.
still, that is a heavy escalation of Kim's character, that she wants to set Howard up and get him disbarred so he can never work as a lawyer again in the US for gross misconduct. And even Jimmy is surprised of that, which we see more about in the end, where he's like starting to realize that she's actually serious about this.
Yeah, and this is what I was talking about before. Like this really shows Kim's like changed, like Kim's Breaking Bad, basically.
Yeah.
Let's leave it at that.
And then we cut back to Lalo's compound, where we have Nacho sneaking around a little bit because he's he's going to do his job, opening the door for Gustavo's hitman.
Hmm.
And then he is like all tense and comes out to the yard, where we have no other than Lalo himself chilling at the bonfire in a lawn chair. Drinking beer.
I don't ever sleep much. Maybe like 1 or 2 hours a day.
Yeah, it's enough. But I guess when you are in that line of work, you kind of do keep an eye open and are on edge.
Yeah,
So,
actually, much like a Danish soldier who's called, or who was a soldier who's B.S. Christiansen, if I may go up topic for a little bit. But yeah, he had this famous quote that during his soldier life he only slept with one eye open. He always had one eye open to look for enemies. And I think it's a little bit the same if you're in the cartel business.
you're which means Lalo might be freaking psychotic, but he's still thinking like sensible, and he still has his survivor instincts intact and all that stuff, right? And there was like something that stands out to me, and that is that his compound is a huge 15, 20 feet tall concrete walls, barbed wire on top, armed guards, which makes me think like who's this guy worried about? And Lalo is a tough mofo, right? He's a tough motherfucker.
Yeah.
So who's he worried about that he needs to have all this protection around him? And also
it's true. It's
also yeah, that's something that caught my eye with like all this. But I don't know, maybe that is standard for high level cartel members in Mexico to live in huge locked in compounds.
Do we actually know yet if his compound is Hector Salamanca's, or
no, we don't.
But also, yeah, Lalo isn't his son. He's the cousin. He's the cousin of the cousins of the.
He's the cousin
of Marco and Lionel. So yeah, but
so
yeah,
he isn't technically a Salamanca.
Yeah, he is. But he's just like, you can still have the same name even if you're a cousin.
Yeah, that's true. They're still blood. Yeah. So then we have Nacho that needs to think fast about, since he needs to keep up his word about unlocking the door, and he goes in and he asks Lalo for some stronger alcohol. He runs in to get it and sets a pan of oil on fire in the kitchen to distract some attention, and uses this distraction to open the door for the hit team on the outside.
And
right.
Who had sent them again?
It was Gustavo.
Oh yeah, of course.
He talked with Mike about it, that that he had some guys for this job, and Lalo needed to go, right?
Yeah.
And by having just for a little bit recapping there, they couldn't kill Lalo in the US, because if they did, then Eladio would automatically assume that it would be Gustavo, and Gustavo would then effectively get a death sentence for that.
Yeah.
But by doing it in Mexico at his house, then it could be blamed that that it was a rival cartel, some other dude in Mexico having a beef with Lalo, and Gustavo would be out of the crosshairs of being a suspect. So that was kind of like why it needed to happen where it did, or should happen. And this is where I'm like sitting with my biggest what the fuck moment ever when I see that Lalo is so prepared that he has a freaking tunnel under his house
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Fuck,
from his
man.
bathtub, right?
Oh, now that you actually say, because like when I watched it with my brother and one of my friends Tuesday, I was like, I was just sitting there like zoning, like zoned out of my mind. So, like, yeah, okay. But now, like afterwards, when I've like processed it, it like doesn't make much sense to me. They're like, he must really be psychotic, or bordering to paranoia,
Yeah, yeah,
almost.
that is paranoia, and
Like,
and you see it is also like a pretty fresh ish tunnel because it has ventilation in it, it has it has lights in it, it has everything in it, right?
yeah, yeah.
So it seems like that Lalo was worried about somebody coming to take him out before Gustavo ever came along, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, and anyway, so we have
But I
we
guess,
have
yeah, I guess that makes sense, though. I mean, like, if you
yeah.
are in that business, but yeah, but then again, still, I
So
mean,
so
a
we
fucking
have
tunnel.
so
I mean, imagine like you building a tunnel underneath your own mansion, like your own house. I
yeah.
mean, just because you're afraid of some enemies. I mean, wow.
And we have Lalo completely turning the table on this because I thought it was going to be pretty cut and dry. I thought that Lalo was just going to get a bolt in his head, bam, end of end of story for Lalo, right?
Yeah.
But no, he completely turns the table, kills everybody on this hit team, right?
With a wonderful like gamer technique with that what was that rifle that he used anyway, where you just like hang yourself from the ceiling and then you just spray and pray. Yeah, I mean we gotta love
Yeah,
that.
well, he didn't actually need it to spray and pray, because it was such a tight tunnel, right?
Yeah, yeah, but he
So
was still
all
he
he
was
needed to
still moving
do,
it. He was still moving it forth and
yeah,
back a little
he
bit.
was still
So
moving it, but by doing it, then he was like, then
yeah.
he was just ensuring that every bullet, that some of the bullet would like hit its target, right?
Now,
But
being a huge gun fan yourself, did you notice what the gun was that he used? Was it was an M, right? But I don't know which one.
it seems like an AR-15. Um,
Oh, okay, then I was wrong.
let me type that up real fast.
Yeah, well, I never know what kind of guns people use in movies and TV shows. I'm always just saying, "Oh, wow, that's a gun! Holy shit, damn!"
But yeah, it seems like it is an uh, Armalite AR-15. I think
Hmm.
that's like my best guess, but it could be. I'm not that big
Nah,
assault rifle guy.
I mean it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
No, but okay, let's just go further in this. And then we cut back to Jimmy and Kim again, sitting at the hotel again, talking about that they're going to or wants to take down Howard and how much money there is in it.
Hmm.
Jimmy being completely in on that. But then the more interesting part is, yeah, this was what I was talking about. By the way, before I cut to the like final scene of the episode, when we have that conversation with Jimmy and Kim, right? That's when Jimmy actually realizes that Kim's serious. Kim is
Yeah,
serious about taking down Howard. Howard, and that's
yeah,
the contrast to the ending of the last season, season 4, where it was like Kim standing there in the dark, not
yeah.
knowing what the hell's going on, right? But now it is Jimmy standing there, not knowing what the hell's going around.
Yeah,
Kim's got the, Kim's got the plan. She knows
yeah,
what's going to do, right? She's already thinking of like ways to do it, right? And convincing Jimmy, that she's on board with this 100%. Do whatever it takes. And ethical. Kim doesn't give a shit anymore.
Yeah, and
So
that's a wonderful way that we have flipped the tables. Like it just writing wise, the writers have really done excellent work here in showing this complete turnaround. The reason why Kim probably wants Howard gone could go back to a scene in season 4 where she was in Howard's office and receiving the news that Howard wanted her to give Jimmy that letter in which he gives her like some bullshit $5,000, and wants Jimmy to read this fucking letter, where she is just like completely snapping at him because she's still in love with him, and then she says to Howard, so what? Why should I do this? Just one last fuck you from Chuck, from beyond the grave, and this is just like the point I think where she decides that Howard is too insensitive when it comes to Jimmy. So yeah,
yeah,
that's why I think that she actually does what she does in this final.
yeah,
Uh,
that's definitely like fuel on the fire for her at least.
yeah, yeah. I think it's a
Anyways,
very essential point. But yeah, let's continue.
we cut back, to the final scene where Lalo is taking care of the last hitman alive that is trying to crawl away. The one that he burned with the oil. And in this scene, interestingly, it's very interesting that he never actually says that it was Gustavo that hired him, right?
Hmm.
He just says that there is a middleman and that he don't know who hired them to do the job, right?
Hmm.
And Lalo just accepts this, says it's okay, and that he knows because he knows who hired them, and tells him to make the call on the set phone that Lalo is dead, right?
Oh yeah,
And then he has him calling, and the hitman calls Gustavo to say, or Mike probably, to say that it's done.
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
And
Actually, it is most likely Mike because
yeah,
as you recall, Mike earlier says that Lalo will die tonight. So yeah. I'm almost like 99% sure that it is Mike he calls there.
yeah, yeah, call, yeah.
Hold on,
Um,
you're breaking up.
I'm sorry. Is it
Talk.
better? Talk.
No, now it's good again. Now it's good.
Okay. And he never. Yeah. So says who it is. He just tells Lalo just tells the hitman to that say that the job's done and Lalo is dead, right? But here's what I'm thinking, man, and that is that Lalo might think that it is Donald Laudio who has sent these guys.
Hold on. Fuck. It's there. Okay, I just muted it. Say that sentence again.
Lalo might think that it is actually Donald Laudio that has sent those hitmen with Nacho's help. Because if you like,
Okay.
because if Lalo is like thinking this through, what did they do, right? What did they do like the past day? Oh yeah, they spent the day at Eladio's compound. Nacho had a long talk with Don Eladio, and all of the sudden, Nacho is letting hitmen in to take out Lalo.
Yeah.
And it might be, and what reinforces this theory, I think, is the tunnel and how prepared he was for an assault, right? That he might have been worried from the get-go that it might be Eladio that would come for him, right? So,
Interesting. Yeah.
and in Breaking Bad, when Lalo is being mentioned by Better Call, no, by Saul in season 2, I think, yeah, right. Then where it is like Jesse and Walter trying to scare the shit out of Jimmy a little bit, taking him into the forest where they dug a grave or something. Then then
Oh yeah, he
Jimmy's,
says yeah. I mean that's probably the most. I know what you're talking about in the
yeah,
desert. In the
yeah,
desert
yeah,
where
yeah, yeah,
Walter
where
and
he
Jesse
says
apprehend him.
where he says
Yeah. Okay. Say it.
yeah, where he says it wasn't me, Lalo, it was
No. Yeah, I can do it by heart. He says it wasn't me, it wasn't me, it was Ignacio. And before that, he asks them, "Did Lalo send you?"
yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So, which means that you know that he doesn't know that Lalo is dead, right? At this point,
No, but
and you know,
I
but
actually I talked with a friend of mine about this, and it could also just be that because Jimmy or Saul doesn't know anything about this at this
no,
point yet.
that could also
Um,
be. And as far as
um,
Gustavo and Mike's concerned, then Lalo is dead, right?
yeah,
And
exactly.
if he believes that it was Eladio that sent the hitman and not Gustavo, then it also might be very likely that Lalo just chooses to disappear.
But then again, no. Well, then again, now we need to get something clear because at this point, Mike thinks that Lalo is dead, right? And so does Gus.
Yeah,
And Mike has told Mike has told Saul that Lalo will be dead tonight. So they all must think that Lalo is dead now. But in Breaking Bad, Saul asks Jesse and Walt, "Did Lalo send you?"
yeah, he does.
So
Well,
something must happen in season 6 that makes Saul believe that Lalo is alive again. Otherwise, he wouldn't ask, "Did Lalo send you?"
yeah. Like
Yeah.
here's my theory is like either Lalo just chooses to disappear, and Gustavo figures that out eventually, with the hitman never returning his phone calls anymore, or we have
Uh,
or we have or we have Nacho and Lalo getting into a fight where one or both of them ends up dead.
yeah.
Or we have also the third
Uh,
theory that it might be both of them that disappears. If Lalo thinks it is Eladio that was behind it, then he'll disappear. When Nacho comes back, he'll be able to tell the full story to Gustavo or Mike that that everything got fucked up. Lalo's still alive. You need to help me disappear.
yeah. But
Or
something still, like,
like I'm
I very much believe that Lalo will come. I don't know, man, because
you think you thinking you think
he's only mad at Nacho though,
Yeah,
because
he'll. But which is something that could also be
yeah.
when we'll have the vacuum cleaner guy introduced to Better Call Saul,
Oh yeah, I didn't think about that.
because Nacho could also choose to go to Jimmy, right, and explain the whole situation and say, man, you gotta help me out, find somebody that can disappear me, and we're all cool.
Yeah,
Because we also know that Nacho wants out of the game. He
yeah, that's true.
desperately wants out of the cartel game, and he don't want to worry about his father, so he wants both of them to disappear. That could also be a thing that happens.
Yeah, but it still needs, like, what I still am eluded by is the fact that uh that Saul still doesn't. He still thinks that Lalo is dead, but he still asks that question: "Did Lalo send you?" So, but at the same time, Lalo still respects Saul because he actually went through with getting all the bags.
Yeah.
So some
Right.
something else must happen, like in season 6, and I don't think that Lalo is going to come back to Saul
Well,
because he
maybe.
respects him. He respects him, so
eh,
he's not going to come back to Lalo, or he's not going to come back to Saul and kill him or do anything
no,
to him.
but he might be paranoid about it.
Oh,
Anyways, we're going to cut it here.
yeah, okay.
It was a great time, and I hope we'll have a lot of listeners to this episode of The Corner. Sorry for the long break, folks. Hope you enjoyed the show, and good night.
Yeah, and from me too. Have a good night, guys.
Yep.